and what the Supreme Court does, and there what are the powers and functions. So this is the topic for today's deliberation. Okay, let us understand the Parliament first. The Parliament has extensive powers and performs a number of functions. The Parliament functions with the help of various committees like number one, Public Accounts Committee, second, Estimates Committee, third, Committee of Public Undertakings, and fourth, Business Advisory Committee. So these are the four important committees through which Parliament functions. Then coming to the what are the major functions of the Parliament? The first function is legislation. Please make it a point. Legislation means making rules is called legislation. So under Article 340, 245 and 246, the Parliament can make laws for the whole or any part of India. Even the Parliament can make rules for the whole country or a part of the country. It may be one state, one region, like that. So it can make rules for entire country or the part of the country. Both the Parliament and the state legislative assemblies can make laws on items in the concurrent list. However, in case of conflict between the union and state laws, the union laws will prevail over the state laws. So, David. That means to say, see, the parliament can also make laws. At the same time, the state assembly can also make laws, but the laws made by the parliament are supreme over the state laws. So that is the meaning. Then coming to the second function, constitutional functions, constitutional powers. Under Article 368, the Parliament is empowered to make constitutional amendments. Certain articles of the Constitution can be amended by the Parliament with the approval of the state legislature. I give you the simple meaning. What is the amendment? Suppose, see, take the example of the reservation. Okay, best since there is a reservation under the law, we can make some changes. Like, see, we have increased the reservation for the rural students, increased the reservation for the agriculture background, increased the reservation for the agriculture laborers. Okay, women reservation quota, like that. See, if there is a law that can be amended according to the convenient for the majority of the for benefit of the large majority of the people. So that is called amendment. There is a rule, and the rule can be changed with not affecting the whole idea of the rule, right? That is called amendments. We can bring some changes for the constitution. That is called constitutional powers. And third important function of the parliament is control over the government. The parliament has control over the government. The council of ministers is responsible to the Lok Sabha. The Lok Sabha can pass no confidence motion or to dismiss the government. See, the Ministry of the Council of Ministers, headed by the Prime Minister of India, so they can dismiss any form of government with the sufficient evidences. Then fourth function of the parliament is control over the public finance. Control over the public finance means, see, it will be through taxes it collects the money, and each and rupee how it has come, the how the money each rupee has spent, so it has to be approved by the parliament. All the incomes and all the expenditures has to be approved by the government or the parliament. That is called control over the public finance. And fifth function is other functions. Apart from these functions, other functions like the parliament exercises other functions such as the election and the impeachment of president, removal of the Supreme Court and High Court judges, Controller and Auditor General, Chief Election Commissioner, presiding officer of the lower house, etc. So on these aspects, it can also make rules. Then coming to the parliamentary privileges. What are the parliament privileges? Privileges means the special options, special powers. That's called privileges. Okay. The parliamentary privileges. Article 105 of the Constitution confers certain privileges on the members of the Parliament. The privileges are intended to ensure free atmosphere for the effective functioning of the Parliament. See, there are two types of privileges. Number one, privileges enjoyed by the members individually. See, what are the privileges if you become a member of the Parliament? Number one. And another type of privileges is privileges which belong to each house of Parliament as a collective body. As the Parliament itself, what are these privileges for entire Parliament? Number one. Number two, as a member of the Parliament, what are the powers and privileges you have? Okay. So first we shall understand privileges enjoyed by the members of Parliament individually. If you become Parliament member, what are your individual privileges? So as a member of the Parliament, here as a member of the Parliament, a Parliament member having two privileges. Number one, freedom of speech. Every member of Parliament is assured of freedom of speech within the walls of the Parliament. See, if you become a member of a Parliament, you can speak on behalf of your people, behalf of your constituency, and you can present the problems and problems to the Parliament. Number one. Number two, freedom of arrest. Freedom of arrest means it may be noted that a member of Parliament is assured of freedom of arrest only in court cases of civil nature and during session of the Parliament and 40 days before and after the session. It doesn't apply to court cases of criminal nature or preventive detention cases. So if it is civil nature case, he cannot be arrested. If it is criminal cases, he can be arrested. Okay. And even if a criminal case also, the police has to get permission from the either the Speaker of the Parliament, or if he's in Rajya Sabha, or the Vice President of the India. So they have to seek the permission. Who are presiding on the house, so they need to take permission of the person who is presiding in the house. So normally in Lok Sabha, the presiding officer is Speaker of Lok Sabha, and in Rajya Sabha, the Vice President will be the presiding in the presiding over the house. So by getting the permission of these two, they can be arrested if it is a say criminal case. Okay. Then coming to the privileges of the house collectively, as a house, as a Parliament itself, what has its privileges? Number one is power to punish. Power to punish means the Parliament can try and punish members and outsiders for contempt or breach of its privileges. The Parliament may take the form of admonition, reprimand, and imprisonment. So the House, as a collectively, it has power to punish anyone who is found guilty. Second function is as a collective House, power to summon. Power to summon means the House of Parliament and their committees have the right to summon any person to give evidence and information or to produce documents or to answer charge of breach of privilege or contempt of house. So if somebody found to be guilty and he may be asked to the Parliament, he may be give explanation and he has to give the reasons for his guilty. So the Parliament can summon anyone. Third privilege is right to regulate internal proceedings. Right to regulate internal proceedings. No executive or indicial authority has the right to interfere in internal affairs of the Parliament. No one has right to intervene in the internal affairs of the Parliament. Then fourth important privilege is right to exclude strangers. Right to exclude strangers. If the House so desires, it can expel the strangers from the public galleries of the House at any time. See, already if there is a session, there is a public gallery. People come and certain people, if by getting the pass, they can go and sit in the gallery and you can observe the proceedings. And if someone enters in the gallery as outsider outside the country, so the Parliament can send him out from the gallery of the Parliament. So that is the right to exclude strangers. Then coming to the Supreme Court of India. The Supreme Court of India is an integrated single judiciary system of India. The Supreme Court is an independent and impartial court to render justice to the millions of Indian citizens in their quest for liberty, equality, rights, and democracy. So that means to say, so our Indian judiciary is a independent, impartial judiciary. See, maybe just you might have observed what has happened in the pandemic. See, even the High Court and Supreme Court taken serious action against the governments. So like lack of beds, lack of oxygen, lack of medicines, remdesivir. You might have read in the newspapers. See, the Supreme Court intervenes sometimes, or state government, High Court intervenes in the administration of the government and gives some instructions, right? So that is called, it will act as an independent body. Then organization of the Supreme Court of India. The Indian judiciary is an integrated system with the Supreme Court at its apex. The court also plays a role of custodian fundamental rights and do not permit the government to become autocratic. Autocratic means by its own decisions. See, the government cannot take its own decisions. It cannot allow, the court will not allow government to become autocratic. Autocratic means powers exercised by the single person. No autocracy. Okay. Thus, the courts play a very important role in the life of the nation. Then, what is the composition? The Supreme Court of India at present consists of the Chief Justice and 25 other judges. In 1950, when the court was set up under the new constitution, it consisted only 8 judges. On account of the increase in its workload, the strength of Supreme Court was raised from time to time by Parliament by law. Then coming to the appointment of the Supreme Court judge, how the appointment is made as a Supreme Court judge. The Chief Justice and the other judges of Supreme Court are appointed by the President of India. Please make it a point. The judiciary system is directly comes under the control of the President of India, and the President of India appoints the Chief Justice of India. Okay, and is appointed by the Supreme Court judge is appointed by the President of India in consultation with such of the judges of Supreme Court or High Court as he may deem necessary for the purpose. Sometimes while selecting the Chief Justice of India, the President consults the senior judges and other High Court judges for selecting the Chief Justice of Supreme Court. Normally, the senior most sitting judge is appointed as the Chief Justice of India. This is normally okay, but the President reserves the right to appoint anyone ignoring the seniority rule. Sometimes the President can ignore the seniority rule if the President has confidence on him, confidence on his credentials, capability, okay, deservedness. So if you President feels that he is the right person, he can also be appointed by ignoring the seniority. But normally, senior persons will be selected. And then what are the qualifications to become a Supreme Court judge? Number one, he must be a citizen of India. Second, a judge of High Court for at least 5 years. Or third one, an advocate of High Court for at least 10 years. Either judge of High Court 5 years or advocate of High Court for 10 years. Last one is a distinguished judge in the opinion of the President. Suppose he has not served 5 years as a judge or 10 years as a lawyer, but in spite of that, he can also be appointed as a Supreme Court judge if he enjoys the confidence of the President of India. Then coming to the term of Supreme Court judge, once appointed, a judge of Supreme Court continues in office till he attains the age of 65 years. Here, please make it a point. Till he attains 65 years of age. He may resign at any point of time by submitting his resignation in writing to the President of India. And on eighth grounds or some other grounds, he may resign and he has to give tender resignation to the President of India. Then coming to the powers, powers and functions of the Supreme Court of India. So, what are the powers the Supreme Court judge has? Okay, the Supreme Court of India has extensive judicial powers. The powers are as follows. Number one, original jurisdiction. Original jurisdiction. The Supreme Court has original and exclusive jurisdiction in the following disputes. Number one, the disputes between the union and one or more states. If there is a dispute between the one or two states or union government and state governments, that disputes will be settled by the Supreme Court judge. Or between two and more states, if the dispute is between two states and more than two states, then the Supreme Court intervene. Okay, the dispute must further involve a point of law or fact upon which the legal rights depends. And second important function is guardian of fundamental rights. Guardian of fundamental rights. On reference, the Supreme Court can declare any act of the union or state government null and void if it encroaches upon fundamental rights of the citizen. If any law comes in the way of the fundamental laws, fundamental rights violation, then it becomes as a guardian. That means protecting the fundamental rights. That is the guardian of the fundamental rights. Okay. And third important function of Supreme Court is uh, court of record. Court of record. The Constitution makes the Supreme Court can a court of record so that its records are of evidentiary value which cannot be questioned when they are produced before any court. Suppose the Supreme Court has given some document, okay, the valid document, that the document cannot be ignored by any other courts. That means they consider as a document, as a evidence. Okay, whatever the Supreme Court has given some documents, so that is becomes a evidence. If any person criticizes the decisions of the court or the conduct of the judges or fails to obey by its orders, it can initiate proceedings against him and punish him. If somebody shows disrespect to the Supreme Court, its proceedings, its judges, so they may be punished. And fourth important function of Supreme Court is advisory jurisdiction. Advisory jurisdiction means on any question of law or fact of public importance, the president can seek the opinion of the Supreme Court. Sometimes, if the President of India unable to take decisions on certain issues, then the President of India can reach, can get the advice of the Supreme Court on certain issues where it may be dilemma to give its verdict, to give its opinion, okay, to pass the rules or regulations. Such is the case, he can take advice of the Supreme Court. And fifth important function is interpreter of the Constitution. Interpreter of the Constitution. It can give its own interpretation of the clause of the Constitution, which will be binding on the union and state governments. Okay. Sometimes the constitutional laws are such a way that it cannot be interpreted. Sometimes it gives one meaning, sometimes it gives another meaning. If that is the case, so the President of India can get clarification what is the meaning of particular laws, particular clause of the Constitution. So that is called interpreter of the Constitution. If there is a doubt, if there is a dilemma or some suspicion, so they can get clarification of the Supreme Court on the Constitution laws. Then the last function of the Supreme Court is appellate jurisdiction. Appellate jurisdiction means appeals of certain types of cases can be lodged with the Supreme Court for settlement. For example, criminal cases. Ravisita, Ravisita, hello.
Sir.
ಏನಪ್ಪಾ ಡಿಸ್ಟರ್ಬೆನ್ಸು?
Divyesh, off your mic. Sir, sorry sir, by miss ಆಗಿರ್ಬೇಕಂತ ಅನ್ಸುತ್ತೆ.
Okay. So last question, last power and function of the Supreme Court judge is appellate jurisdiction. Appellate jurisdiction means, okay, example, in criminal cases in which High Court has given a death sentence for a particular person. Okay. But whereas who was found non-guilty by the lower court. In district court, it has found non-guilty. Example. Okay. Then in High Court, they have given death sentence. Okay. In the lower court, he found non-guilty. In higher court, he has been given sentence, like death sentence. That is the case, they can go to the higher court, Supreme Court. So that is called appellate jurisdiction. In one court, it has given non-guilty, found non-guilty. And another case is found guilty. That is the case, okay, you can go move to other court, the Supreme Court. So these are the appellate jurisdiction. So today we understood what is the parliament, what its functions, okay, and then what are the privileges of the parliament, and privileges of the parliament as a member of the parliament, and privileges as a collective body. That means collective body means as parliament itself, what it has the powers. And then coming to the what is the meaning of Supreme Court, and how the Supreme Court judges are selected, what are the powers and functions of Supreme Court judges. So in this chapter, only 5 questions are there, study questions. Number 1, explain the functions of the parliament. So we have said there are 4 committees. Through 4 committees, it functions. You have to write the 4 committees. Okay. The committees like the Public Accounts Committee, Estimate Committee, Committee of Public Undertakings, Business Advisory Committee. So like that, you have to list it. And the second question is, what are the parliamentary privileges? See, there are 2 types of privileges. Privileges enjoyed by the member of the parliament, number 1, and privileges as enjoyed by the parliament itself. Then third question, write about Supreme Court of India. So you have to write its organization, its composition, its definition. So that's all involved. Write about the Supreme Court of India. Then fourth question, write the composition and the organization of the Supreme Court. Composition and organization. Overall, how many judges are there? What was the judges' strength at the beginning? Now, what is the strength? So you have to write those things. And fifth question, what are the powers of Supreme Court of India? As I said, there are 6 important functions like original jurisdiction, guardian of fundamental rights, court of record, advisory jurisdiction, interpreter of the constitution, appellate jurisdiction. So these are the important 6 powers of Supreme Court of India. Okay, with this we have come to end 4th chapter. Okay, so another 4 chapters are left with us. So this week and next week we are going to complete the Constitution of India. Okay, once we complete the Constitution of India, we need another 2 weeks to complete the psychological part, and if we have sometimes if we get the time, we will go for revision of the chapters, very important chapters to be reviewed for the benefit of the students. Okay, so with this I come to end of my class. So if you have any queries regarding the parliament and the Supreme Court and the judges, you can ask. Any questions? Kavisiddha? Other students? Hello?
Sir,
ಏನಾದ್ರು questions ಇದೆಯಾ?
ಏನಿಲ್ಲ ಅನ್ಸುತ್ತೆ.
Questions ಏನಾದ್ರು ಇದೆಯಾ ಅಂದೆ?
ಏನಿಲ್ಲ ಅನ್ಸುತ್ತೆ ಸರ್.
ಏನಿಲ್ವಾ?
ಇಲ್ಲ ಸರ್.
Questions ಏನಾದ್ರು ಇದೆಯಾ?
ಏನು ಇಲ್ಲ ಅನ್ಸುತ್ತೆ ಸರ್.
Okay, Napa. Okay, if there are no questions, okay, I will end up the class. Okay, please take care of yourself. Okay, stay home, stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you sir. Thank you sir.
Thank you, sir.